everyone. So today I just want to go over some of the more common questions I get with both the Cobra R and the Viper. I'll start off with the Cobra R first. More recently, I've had quite a few people ask me if I have reached out to Doug DeMuro at all. I actually did reach out to him over a year ago, and this was his response. Sorry for the delay. I've been kind of swamped with all the offers I've been getting, and I've been traveling a lot. I really appreciate yours. I'm not sure I'll be looking for a Cobra R like yours, but I've added it to my giant spreadsheet of people with cool cars. When I am, I'll be in touch. I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and I'm glad you're relatively close by. Now, this was when he lived in Philadelphia. He now lives in San Diego, so he's on the other side of the country. I don't know if he'll be coming back over here to do any car reviews anytime soon, but if he does, he's always welcome to review my my Cobra R. Another common question is, do I think the Cobra R is going to return? Right now, no. I don't think any time in the near future, with the relationship Ford has with Shelby, now using that as their high-performance version of their cars. I mean, the regular Cobra hasn't come back yet, so I don't think there will be a Cobra R anytime soon. The GT350R is a very close, basically relative to what a Cobra R would be. And like I said, now that with the GT500 coming out, I don't think there will be a Cobra R return anytime soon. Have I ever tracked the car? No, I don't drag race it or put it on any sort of road courses at all. I mainly just use it as a street car. I take it to local car shows and just kind of run around, run errands in it, things like that. Some people ask why the exhaust system is so quiet for a custom setup. Like I said, it is a custom setup from the factory. I talked about that in some of my other videos. The entire system was designed specifically for this car. That being said, even though it is full custom, it does, because it's factory equipped, it has to abide by all federal noise regulations, so it can't be overly loud. That's why some guys have put custom catbacks on to really make the car a lot louder, because it is pretty quiet from the factory, especially for a full custom setup. Does the car have any sort of hood pins on it? There's one owner in California that has hood pins, but that's not stock for this car. They didn't modify that as that part of the hood at all. It just has your standard two-part hood like all hoods have. And is the car modified? Not other than the modifications Ford did to it from the factory. The car was pretty extensively modified by Ford, so I really don't see the need to do anything more to it. Some owners have, but I like the car the way it is. And as far as the Viper, some people ask, how do I keep the engine so clean? If you go back, you can see I did an engine detailing video on the Viper about a year or so ago. Most people, I assume, are referring to how I was able to get the red coloring of the engine so bright. I used S100 engine brightener, which specifically was designed for motorcycle engines, like Harley-Davidson engines that have that powder-coated crinkle finish on them, and it works very well on this. The before and after video of the engine is pretty dramatic. It really helps bring the red coloring out on the engine. Over time, it becomes kind of dull, not really faded, but dull. And that really does help to really pronounce the paint on the engine. How do you clean out the space between the cylinder banks, the V? I use an air gun just to blow all debris out of there. A lot of stuff does tend to accumulate there over time, especially when you have the hood up at car shows and things like that. You can't get a vacuum in there. It's kind of confined the way it's set up. So that's the easiest way. You just take a compressor, especially if you have one of those nozzles with the long piece on it for blowing out debris. It works very well for cleaning the debris out that accumulates there. Why are the panel gaps on the cars so big? That's just the way it came from the factory. The hood gaps on some cars tend to get bigger over time. That's sort of common. It's not necessarily indicative the car's in an accident, but the hood can kind of move, especially if people don't close it correctly. But the body panels, most of them are riveted in place, so the way they left the factory is the way they are. Some of the gaps are bigger than others, especially like on this Viper included, and a lot of other ones I've seen behind the driver's door. The gap's pretty big. That's just how Chrysler did it and how they came from the factory. So, and then is the Viper modified? The only modification to the car is a stainless steel catback exhaust that was installed by the previous owner. I'm not sure whose catback exhaust it is. There's no markings on it or anything like that. But it does make the car sound dramatically better. It's not a really loud system, but it does give it a much better tone. The stock system is very quiet, and a lot of people comment that the stock system makes it sound like a UPS truck, and I think that's actually pretty accurate, because it does sound pretty docile with the stock system on it. An aftermarket one really does liven up the sound of the car, because the odd firing V10 of these have a very, very distinct sound, and it really helps bring that out. especially when you're driving in the cabin and to the people on the street. So if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.